I think we are in good hands in the judiciary in this country so far.
All right.
Only that there will be emergent challenges because these are newly invigorated institutions that are now on the pathway for the strengthening of the Kenyan democratic process. We should invest more resources, more capacity building, and more importantly, trust in these institutions. 2017 will be a peaceful time.
Right.
Unless other people have mischief.
Yeah, 2017 should be. There's something, of course, even as we celebrate the 3rd anniversary of the Constitution, something, the latest thing is basically the push for a referendum.
Yes.
And you've been reported, you and Jamli Kamau of Kigumu are said to have alleged that CORD leader Raila Odinga is being manipulated by the US and UK to weaken the Jubilee government. Is that so?
I can tell you, I have no doubt in my mind that there are people who are very unhappy about the status of Kenya. When I was coming here, I was on Citizen Radio, and I had the report that the House of Lords in Britain has declined to support Obama's supposed or intended attack on Syria. I think it is time now that every nation of the world, particularly those, and we are members of the United Nations, to appreciate that although nations have challenges, the new colonial approaches that have dominated military interventions selectively. You know, for instance, United States of America is not a signatory of ICC. They have no business talking about ICC. But we see some junior diplomats here talking about ICC in this country. But their own country, they can participate and actually cause war crimes and be guilty of war crimes, but they cannot be touched. That is the hate of international impunity. About CORD and Raila, you know, a referendum should be based on dialogue that has been ventilated on the floor of the National Assembly, in the county assemblies, in the Senate, in the party platforms. But now you see what? Some CORD governors, some CORD senators, some CORD members of parliament, some CORD county assembly members have not been consulted. If you want a national referendum and you have not consulted county executive committees or the leadership of constituencies or wards to participate, then, you know, what is your legitimacy on this matter? If you are not speaking for Western powers, or you are not a comparable Joa, you are not a proxy of other people, how come you have not called even a national executive committee of your own party to say you want this matter as an issue of public interest generated by your party organ? So he's speaking for who?
But then you see, when you talk of some junior diplomat making comments about the government, but in relation to ICC, and right now you're talking about Raila Odinga, the CORD leader, basically focusing on the referendum, and yet there's some governors, some leaders affiliated
on his
to the
party
who have not been consulted. Are you basically saying that any person who criticizes the government is actually being influenced by other powers?
Not necessarily. I'll not go there. We were there during the Moi time. But all I'm saying is this, that Raila Odinga, and is my friend, and everybody in town knows that Raila Odinga is my friend. He's my personal friend. But politically, I think he's very mischievous. You know, before we have talked to him, before, at length, sometimes in private. Last year I spent about 5 hours with him. And I only warned him about a few things that would cause damage on his reputation. But I don't think he listens to good advice. I'm not saying mine was the best advice or good advice, but when I sit with you and you tell me I'm in agreement and I will not touch it, then about 3 weeks later, I see you driving in a 200 convoy to Kagema to go and endorse a Mungiki candidate who eventually gets 200 votes. And now you are talking about the referendum after elections. You know, you are a serious national leader who deserves a lot of respect. And I personally respect former Prime Minister Raila Odinga. And his role in the democratic struggle in this country cannot be downplayed. But I have a strong instinct. In fact, I would call it a belief that Raila doesn't speak for himself anymore. Obviously, he seems to be speaking for some interested parties externally or without the sovereign will of the Republic of Kenya. Because if he accepted the outcome of the elections after the Supreme Court ruling and he congratulated Uhuru Kenyatta, him and his running mate Kalonzo Musyoka went to State House to meet the President and the Deputy President. And after which he flew to Vihiga the same day and accepted that these matters shall be handled by an opposition of which I am the leader. And then within 3 months, you are saying this nation needs a parliamentary system of government, and you have participated in a national election in 1992. You are very active as a deputy director of an election. 97, you are candidate yourself. 02, you are the chief campaigner of former President Mwai Kibaki. In 07, you are actually the main contender, and thereafter you became a partner in the Grand Coalition government. And in 2013, you participated in the same elections. And you are now about 70 years. And you are telling Kenyans, I don't believe in this system. I think wisdom requires, if that issue was brought by county assembly members of CORD, or the members of the National Assembly, or the senators, or the governor themselves, but you know, it took less than 14 days for that issue to be withdrawn at the intervention of the former running mate, Kalonzo Musyoka, and other individuals, including former Attorney General, Amos Wako, because it was obviously misplaced. It was completely obnoxious.
Just a concern, because you're talking of CORD leader Raila Odinga is actually not talking, he's actually being influenced by other powers. He's not talking for himself. And I'm also trying to connect with what you said, the push for cordial discourse between opposing forces. And if I may take you to a statement that you wrote on your Facebook page, I hope it's not an imposter.
Yes.
You posted a message August 21st saying, of ICC and referendum clamour, Raila Odinga is camouflaging so-called devolution referendum when in reality it's a conspiracy with sulking neo-colonial forces to Egypt, Kenya.
Absolutely, that's me. That is me.
So how do you expect to post such a message and still say we can move forward and have a public discourse?
Well, that's part of the public discourse, and what I'm doing on my Facebook is to tell those who care to listen that this agenda by Raila Odinga, by a select group of CORD, not all CORD, because a lot of CORD members of parliament are not with him on this one. Can you take this to the bank and have the password as Raila Odinga, and you can open it anytime? We are telling Kenyans that pre-March 4th elections, we saw individuals, busybodies in town, whom I refer as junior Western diplomats, saying that choices have consequences. We saw very thinly veiled attempts to stigmatize the candidature of Ruto. At the same time, we saw some of those Western powers in Nairobi trying to host tea parties to even kneel to have Ruto as a running mate for Tinga. But when he declines, then he is a bad boy. We also saw Tinga trying to whisper to meet Uhuru. But when Uhuru contests against him, then he is a bad boy. And all I'm telling my friends on Facebook and my followers on Twitter is that this is not a genuine campaign to entrench democracy. It is not a referendum issue to deal with issues of revenue allocation to the counties. It is a political posturing activity by sulking and desperate individuals, a moving piece of desperado, sulking because they did not get what they want. And all we are saying is, it is mischievous, it is disagreeable, it needs to be exposed. And you have no apologies to do.
All right.
Yeah.
So perhaps a final question here as we wind up. We have the proposed retirement benefits Deputy President and Designated State Officers Bill 2013, but that will, of course, award the likes of Court Leader Raila Odinga and Kalonzo Musyoka. But so far, National Assembly Majority Leader Aden Duale said earlier on that Raila Odinga and Kalonzo Musyoka should not benefit because they're still actively involved in the current political situation. What is your take on that as we finalize?
Yes, we'll have opportunity to interrogate that matter when it comes for Parliament. I personally will not participate in an attempt to deny anybody pension. Pension is very important for every citizen. But really, it needs to be hedged on objective evaluation. If you are still actively involved in politics, you're still actively involved in politics and competitive politics for that matter, there are certain levels of pension that can be suspended, in my view. But Kalonzo has been a member of Parliament for a long time. He's already on pension from the National Assembly. Raila has been there for more than 4 terms, for over 20 years, since 1982. So he is entitled to a pension as a member of the National Assembly. That is already taken care of. Any other matter that it is now with their positions as a former Vice President and a former Prime Minister, we'll interrogate when the matter is brought before the House. There's no need for antagonism. There's no need for a fight. And I would not want to do, and I urge my colleagues not to do that which they would not want to be done to themselves or to anybody.
Wow.
Yes.
Golden rule indeed. Many thanks indeed. Of course, talking to Honorable Kabando-Mukurweini, Member of Parliament, focusing on party politics. We'll be right back. Thank you so much.